Welcome back to the next video in our Learn to Code through Roblox series. We're going to go ahead and get going by creating a part, learning how to manipulate that part within a script, which means we're going to have to learn about parts and their properties, as well as a brief discussion on where scripts should go and why. And we'll get started right after our intro. Alright, so we're in Roblox Studio. We are going to first go ahead and delete our first script here because we don't need that from our last video. So let's real quick talk about those three different types of scripts again. So if I hit the plus icon, you can see if I type script. We have our script, our local script, and our module script. Again, scripts are for the server. And the place we want those to exist are places that the server can access, that the client can access, just because there's no point of putting a server script anywhere else. The main place they're going to go are the server script service. Each of these, of course, are a service that contain objects such as scripts or parts or anything like that. The workspace is what contains everything that would end up in your viewport in the actual game world itself. But server script service is typically going to be just server scripts, which is why it's named as such. We have client scripts, right? Our local scripts. These are these blue ones that you saw. If I do this again, script. That's the blue icon here with a little monitor on it. A local script is going to run on a client, and it's going to run specifically for each individual player separately from each other. One thing to note about local scripts is the server, right, running the game has no access to information within those local scripts. And the other way is also true. Each client has no access to any information in a server script or anything that exists only on the server. So we want to keep those separate. The place that pretty much all your local scripts should go is inside of this starter player service here. And if we expand that out, you can see there's actually two of them here, starter player scripts and starter character scripts. Personally, I like putting most of mine in starter player scripts. There are exceptions that starter character scripts work a little bit nicer as well. And the way this works, let me show you by hitting plus here, and let's do a local script. We'll enter that in there. Let's just name this character. And then we'll add another local script here, and we'll name this one player. Oops. Did not work because not selected on the right thing. There, player. And let's get rid of that so it doesn't cause us an error. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and play the game. I have my icons up here. I set that up actually through the settings. Let me go over that real briefly just in case somebody wants to know. Studio settings, is that, I did, it's right here. So you can customize your quick access bar. It's this little almost eject symbol here, and you can click customize, and from there it should pull up this little menu, and you can go through all sorts of different stuff, search for them, add them, and they're going to add to your bar. You can then move them up or down however you need. That gives me access to everything that I want right up here, so I don't ever have to worry about what tab I'm on to hit play, run, play here, any of that stuff. I have my tag editor here, undo, stop is here as well. We have create a new file, open from Roblox, and quick open. So those are all the things I use frequently enough. I put it up there. You can obviously change it however you want. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play. When we do this, this is going to spawn our character into the game. Right, the game is actually running, and now you can see that this is a blue outline. And if you remember from last video when I ran from just the server just running in the game, it was a green outline. And just like in our output window where blue denotes a client and green denotes a server output, this is doing the same thing. So being blue, this means I am from the player's point of view. I'm running this from the client. But you'll notice down here, so we have hello world, right? One came from our player script, one came from our character script. What I wanted to show is up in the players drop down, we have our player, it's me, Distracted Games. I can expand this out now, and I can actually see a player scripts option here. And if if I open that up, we have a few things that Roblox automatically puts in and includes when you play the game. But you'll also notice here's my player script that I created down here in my starter player scripts. This one here. And you'll see these other ones are in here now while I'm running the game. What happens is when you hit play or when you play the game, Roblox generates, whatever scripts it needs to. And then it takes any scripts that you have placed in starter player scripts and it inserts them into each player that plays the game under their player scripts. Alternatively, you have character scripts, right? So if we look at our starter character scripts, we only have this character script located in here, and this will insert itself every time your character is generated. So if we go into the workspace, you'll see that I have this model here for my character, right? That's my little character running around. If I open that up, we have a number of things in here making up my character, but you'll also notice that there's a specific local script called character. This one was inserted by Roblox when I hit play. Even if my character dies and the character gets wiped out and basically respawns, it will then generate a new version of that script to start running again on the character. So that's something to note with local scripts, is they, depending on if you put them in player or character, that's where they're going to end up. So that means that if you want to access specific things within the character, it's easier to do from a character script because you're already inside the character. If you want to access things from the player, again, easier to do from the player script because you're already inside the player object. However, if you want to access something and not have it disappear when the character dies or anything like that, you want to note that this is going to run every time a character respawns from start, right, from scratch. The script will run from start every time a character respawns, versus a player script will run as long as that player is in the game. It'll run as soon as they join the game, and then it will continue to run until they leave the game, despite how many times their character may die. So that's important to note there. Also another thing I will show, actually, we'll go ahead and play. If you want to switch between the client, right, running from the client, to the server and see how that is while the game is running, there's this little icon here under home, or a little option here called current, and I think you can do this from test as well. Yes, you can. And if you click this, we will eject from the client and look from the server. And again, you can see now we have a green outline denoting that we are on the server. So this is useful to see maybe what the player's seeing, what they're not seeing, seeing things from the server side of things without player interference, whatever. This also means that we can see things in our Explorer window that only the server can see, versus, so let's go to, I don't know that we really have much in here that only the server can see right now, but if we had anything, we could. Otherwise, when we go here, we can see that there's, it's going to show us only anything that the player can see, which is kind of nice. So that has its uses. We'll go over at some point in the future, I'm sure. But for now, we'll go ahead and delete these. Module scripts are the third type of script, and again, that's going to need its own video, just because they are useful enough yet complex enough in their own way that we'll do that separately. So that will be the next video, actually. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and create a part and access it from a script. So let's start with the script side first. So creating a script is as easy as hitting the plus icon and doing a script. We're going to do a server script first. So we'll go ahead and insert a script here. I'm going to call this script, I guess, grow is what we'll call it. Capitalize that. Grow is what we'll call it. We'll go ahead and grow our part is what the script will do. So in here now, we'll go ahead and get rid of this. What we want to do is we want to actually reference our part. In order to reference our part, we actually have to have a part in the world. So let's make sure that we have a part in the world. I'm going to go to model. I'm going to click part. And we now have this part here. The part's properties are going to be located in the properties window. Everything you select in the Explorer typically has a properties window. And there's a few things we want to look at. So appearance is going to be different colors, whether it's casting shadows, that sort of thing, whether it's transparent or not. We're going to ignore that for now. Data is also something we'll ignore for now. Just know that the main one in here is locked. If you have something locked, you can't select it in the game world. Like I can select my spawn location, I can no longer select my part. You can still select it from the Explorer window though. If I have this unlocked, I can select my part in the game world otherwise. Alright, the other thing, of course, the name, the parent. The parent is of note here, so the parent of this part is the workspace, meaning that this part lives directly inside the workspace. If we have a folder in here, and we call this, we'll call it part folder, and we put our part inside that folder, the part's parent is now the part folder, and the part folder's parent is the workspace, right? So that's the parent-child hierarchy that we're going to need to know for our script as well. The last thing inside of our properties we're going to look at then is in our transform. So this contains our size of our part on the X, Y, and Z. If you don't know that, that's basically the axes that things exist on. If it's 2D, it's only got X and Y. Because we're 3D, we also have a depth, which is Z. Y is the height, X is the width. It's going to depend on what you clicked on. But otherwise, these numbers are always going to be in this order, X, Y, Z, right? We're going to manipulate the size to make it bigger. The position, if we ever needed to know that or manipulate that, is actually underneath the C frame. That's a coordinate frame, which combines both the position, where it's located in the game world according to our 0, 0, 0 axis, center point of our world, which is directly underneath the spawn point here, or our rotation or our orientation, which is in degrees. So if I wanted to rotate this part 45 degrees, for example, I could do that there. This all corresponds, of course, to our controls up here as well. If we want to move, scale, or rotate, we can do that. Again, there's other videos to go over that. We're not going to go over that too much here. This is going to be more of a coding thing. So our part, let's go ahead and name this grow part, just to have it separate so we know. I'm going to leave it in this part folder so I can show you how to reference this. So let's go back to our grow script, and inside here we need to get a reference to our part. This is where we're going to create a variable. A variable is basically a name that you use to reference something or store something. So it's going to have a value associated with it, and we can have this name equal anything. It can be the number 10. It can be the word hello. It can be a bunch of different stuff that we're not going to go over right now. Right now, though, we want this to be a part. The thing is, with Lua and Luau, we need to make sure we're using local variables. The difference between that is a local variable, local var, versus just a var. We can have this equal 20. Local means that this variable exists inside of our script, and only inside of our script. If we don't use the local keyword, then this variable exists anywhere inside of our global table, or can be accessed from other scripts technically, if done a certain way. Problem is, if you're doing this, you tend to overwrite variables with each other more often than not. Not to mention, you can come across some issues with memory if you're storing things in your global data store. So we don't want to do that. So instead, we always want to use local for a lot of things. In this case, though, we are going to just call this local part, and we'll have that assigned a value. So this is not actually the equal sign like it is in math. We're not saying that part is equal to a certain thing. We are actually just saying whatever value we put here on the right is going to be stored inside the name part, and we are able to call access to that value anytime in our script by simply typing the word part. So in our case, we want to reference our grow part. Our grow part is inside of our part folder. which is inside of our workspace. So ideally, we need to access what the workspace is in, which is this whole thing. And this whole thing is not Explorer. It's actually the game, or I think it's data service, game data service, I don't know, something. But it's referenced in here by game, right? Data model. I just had to type that. So you'll notice, of course, we have that autocomplete. It's going to tell us what things are, which is nice as well. And then game.workspace, right? Now, a thing about accessing the workspace this way is it's done so frequently that Roblox have gone in and said, well, typing this out is, even though it's just one word extra, programmers are lazy, so they made sure that we don't have to do this every time. We can actually just replace this with an all lowercase workspace. And you'll even see that we have this here, and it's going to say that it's deprecated. Basically, it's no longer needed because they've implemented a way we can just do workspace. Now that we have our workspace, we can access our part folder. And to do that, we're going to use dot notation. So we're just going to use a dot here. And when we hit dot, we're going to see a number of different options, including a lot of things that are in our actual workspace. You'll notice a lot of these things aren't actually in our workspace here. Some of them are properties of our workspace. Some of them are events. There's a lot of things that I can show you here in the future videos. But what we want to do is find our part folder, and you can see as I start typing it, it knows there's the part folder. It even shows us it is a folder because it knows that. We'll hit tab to select that. And now inside of our part folder is our grow part. So we can once again hit dot to go another layer deeper, and we can just type in grow part. And now this is actually our part in our Explorer in our game. So again, this is kind of another benefit of variables. Instead of having to type this every time we want to access our grow part, we've now stored this reference to our part in just a single word part. So that's another one of the powers of variables. Super reusable, saves you a lot of typing. We could change what the part is later on, which is nice too. So now we want to go ahead and get something to happen to our part. So we can access our part's properties similar to the way that we accessed the part itself from within the folder in the workspace, is using dot notation. So if I say part dot, you're going to see a number of different things in here on this pretty long list. And let me go ahead and take this moment to show you where it's getting a lot of this stuff from. If we go to view and you go to object browser, this is a list of everything inside of Roblox basically. And we can go to, for example, a part, which these are alphabetical, thankfully. So here's a part, I'll click on it. And you can see that this is a part because it says properties dash, and it's showing you the class name itself. Not pull that up. The class name itself, which is a part. So that's what this part is a part, right? Its name is grow part, and then you see that in the quotations. So a part has all of these different options. This is actually what is being pulled up when we hit dot. And you'll see these little different icons and color coding. So pink ones are going to be functions that we can call on the part. I'll cover functions in a future video, of course, beyond the scope of this one. Blue items are objects or properties. So all of our properties are going to be in there. You'll also see properties that you can access here that you can't access from the properties window. So it gives you a little extra options there. But you'll see things like size, for example, or transparency. And then anything with a lightning bolt, these are actually events that can occur to the part. For example, if you're touching the part, it will fire an event. Events will also be covered in the future, so don't worry about that. For the most part, that's where all that stuff is coming from when we hit the dot after our part, is it's giving us access to all those different things. They're a little different coloring in here. We have pink lightning bolts instead of yellow, and then our functions are going to actually be, well, some of these are different icons regardless, which is interesting. But anyway, the functions would actually be if you hit colon, but that's neither here nor there. All right, so specifically, we want to change the size. Now, this size is going to use what's called a vector 3, and vector 3s can be pretty complex. I can get into those in another video as well to deep dive into them, but for now just know that a vector 3 is any combination of 3 numbers. So you can see that the size is this combination of 3 numbers. Okay, I can go down deeper if I want to say size.x, and it would only be 1 number, right? So if I do that here, and say size, and then we do dot again, you see of x, y, there's a couple other things you can perform on that. But if we do x, you can see x is just a number. So this is just a simple number here. These, by the way, are data types. We'll cover those as well in the future. But to not get too into the weeds on this, the video is already getting long enough. We're going to just do a different size, but we're going to not do the x value. We're going to just set the actual size. So we're going to set this to, it has to be a vector 3, so we have to construct a new vector 3. To do that, we type in vector 3, and you'll see it's actually the first option that comes up there, so I'll hit tab. And then we need to do dot new. So this is performing a little function on our vector 3 library to actually create a new vector 3. And you'll see it actually shows you the breakdown of how this works. So when we create a new one, we supply an x value, a y value, and a z value, and they're all numbers. The question mark means that we don't have to supply every value if we don't want to. We could just supply an x, which we might do, but we'll submit the others as well. And then it's going to return, which is at the other end of this colon here, a new vector 3, which is what that's doing. So we're going to do dot new, and we'll make this something very noticeable. So we have 4 on our x, so let's make this 40 on our x. And then we'll leave the y, which is at 1, and we'll leave the z, which is at 2, so that nothing else changes there. Now this is going to happen very fast. This happens every tick of our processor, every frame, basically. So we're going to go ahead and assign a reference to our grow part to the part variable. We're going to use that part variable instead of this, and I could show you here. I can hit dot and get the size here as well, right? So it's the same exact thing. It's just instead of having to type all of this, we just type part. We're setting the size to a new size here. So if we run the game, you'll see that now our part is 40 wide. But you'll also notice if I hit stop, the part goes back. That is not a permanent change to that part. It is only while the game runs. So the game runs, it runs the script. When the game stops, it goes back to its default state, which is when the part was this size. But if we run it again, it will do it again. So another cool thing that we can do about this is we can access our part and its size and set this all within the game world, even without it running. Just know that would be a more permanent change unless you go in and undo it. And we can do that from our command bar, so this will be the last thing we'll try here. So we can do our workspace. We have dot part folder, right? And then our grow part. And now we're going to access the size specifically. My goodness. Try typing that properly. The size specifically, and we're going to set that equal to a vector3.new, and we're going to put that at 40. Its y is 1, and its z is 2. So if I hit enter, now you can see that the part has changed its size, and we're not running the game. So even if we deleted this script or disabled this script or anything, it's going to actually still just stay that size, right? We run this, it goes that way, and we stop, and it's still going to remain that size. Another cool thing, so you'll notice the command bar has cleared out there. I can press up on my command bar and access different things that I had there. So there's that again. So we can set this back to 4, and this will put the size back to the way that it was, which is nice. So that's basically how we can use a script to access something using variables to store references to values, and a value can be a part in the particular instance of a game, and then how we can manipulate things by using the properties of the objects themselves. Stay tuned for the next video. We're going to go ahead and go over a little more detail on client scripts, local scripts that time, and how they differentiate from server scripts, and meet us in the next video.